Sophie's World by Jostein Gaarder is a novel that intertwines a coming-of-age story with an accessible introduction to the history of Western philosophy. Published in 1991, the book follows Sophie Amundsen, a 14-year-old Norwegian girl, as she embarks on a journey of intellectual discovery prompted by mysterious letters and a philosophical correspondence course. Through Sophie's experiences, Gaarder explores profound questions about existence, reality, and the nature of consciousness, while presenting a chronological overview of philosophical thought from ancient Greece to the 20th century. This summary, approximately 5,000 words, provides a detailed account of the novel's plot, key philosophical concepts, and thematic elements, while avoiding spoilers beyond what is necessary to convey the essence of the story. Part 1. The Mysterious Letters and the Beginning of Philosophy. The story begins in a quiet Norwegian suburb, where Sophie Amundsen, an inquisitive but ordinary teenager, receives an anonymous letter in her mailbox. The letter contains a single, provocative question: "Who are you?" This simple query sparks Sophie's curiosity, and soon after, she receives another letter asking, "Where does the world come from?" These questions, both personal and cosmic, set the stage for the novel's dual narrative, Sophie's personal journey of self-discovery and a broader exploration of philosophical ideas. Sophie discovers a package addressed to her, containing a handwritten note and the beginning of a philosophy course. The anonymous sender, later revealed as Alberto Knox, a middle-aged philosopher, introduces himself as her guide. Through a series of letters and packages, Alberto begins teaching Sophie about the origins of philosophy, starting with the pre-Socratic philosophers of ancient Greece. He explains that philosophy is the pursuit of answers to life's big questions, questions about existence, knowledge, morality, and the nature of reality. The first philosophical lesson focuses on the pre-Socratics, such as Thales of Miletus, who proposed that water is the fundamental substance of all things, and Anaximander, who suggested that the universe originates from an undefined boundless. Sophie learns about Heraclitus, who believed that change is the essence of reality. You cannot step into the same river twice, and Parmenides, who argued that reality is unchanging and eternal. These early thinkers, Alberto explains, sought natural explanations for the world, moving away from mythological accounts. As Sophie absorbs these ideas, she begins to question her own identity and place in the universe. The mysterious letters also introduce a parallel subplot. Sophie finds postcards addressed to a girl named Hilde Melle Nag, sent by someone named Albert Nag, who appears to be Hilde's father. The postcards are oddly personal, mentioning Hilde's 15th birthday and her life in Lillesand, Norway. Sophie is puzzled, as she has no connection to Hilde. Yet the postcards are delivered to her home. This mystery deepens as Sophie continues her philosophical studies. Part 2. The Classical Philosophers and Sophie's Growing Curiosity. Alberto's lessons progress to the classical Greek philosophers, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Through handwritten notes and later in-person meetings, Alberto explains Socrates' method of questioning assumptions to uncover truth, his emphasis on ethics, and his belief that true knowledge comes from within. Sophie is captivated by Socrates' humility. He claimed to know only that he knew nothing, and his tragic death for challenging Athenian authorities. Plato, Socrates' student, introduces the theory of forms, which posits that the physical world is a shadow of a perfect, eternal realm of ideas. Sophie grapples with the idea that a horse, for example, is an imperfect reflection of the ideal form of a horse, Plato's allegory of the cave, where prisoners perceive shadows as reality, prompts Sophie to question her own perceptions of the world. Aristotle, Plato's student, brings a more practical perspective, emphasizing observation and categorization of the natural world. Sophie learns about Aristotle's concept of causality, material, efficient, formal, and final causes, and his belief that humans achieve happiness through virtuous living. Aristotle's logical approach contrasts with Plato's idealism, and Sophie begins to see philosophy as a dialogue between different ways of understanding reality. Meanwhile, Sophie's personal life is affected by her philosophical awakening. She becomes more introspective, questioning her relationships with her mother, her friends, and the world around her. Her mother, a kind but pragmatic woman, is baffled by Sophie's newfound obsession with abstract questions. Sophie also grows more determined to uncover the connection between herself and Hilde. She finds more postcards, some mentioning a philosophy course for Hilde, and begins to suspect that her own course is somehow linked to Hilde's life. Part 3. The Hellenistic Period and the Middle Ages. As Sophie's lessons continue, Alberto introduces the Hellenistic philosophers, who focused on individual happiness in an uncertain world. The Cynics, led by Diogenes, advocated living simply and rejecting societal conventions. The Stoics, such as Zeno, emphasized self-control and acceptance of fate, believing that virtue is the key to a good life. The Epicureans, following Epicurus, argued that pleasure, understood as the absence of pain and the presence of simple joys, is the highest good. Sophie finds these practical philosophies appealing, as they offer guidance for living well in a complex world. The narrative shifts to the Middle Ages, where philosophy intertwines with Christian theology. Alberto explains how early Christian thinkers, such as Augustine, reconciled Plato's ideas with Christian doctrine, proposing that God is the source of eternal truths. Sophie learns about Thomas Aquinas, who synthesized Aristotle's philosophy with Christianity, arguing that reason and faith are complementary paths to truth. These medieval thinkers, Alberto notes, grappled with questions about free will, the nature of God, and the relationship between the human soul and the divine. Sophie's encounters with Alberto become more direct as he invites her to meet in person at an abandoned church. Their discussions are lively and interactive, with Alberto using metaphors and thought experiments to illustrate complex ideas. Sophie begins to notice strange occurrences, such as objects appearing or disappearing inexplicably, which hint at a deeper layer to her reality. These events, coupled with the Hilde postcards, make Sophie question whether her world is as real as it seems. Part 4. The Renaissance and the Modern Era. The philosophy course moves into the Renaissance, a period of renewed interest in human potential and scientific inquiry. Sophie learns about figures like Copernicus, who challenged the geocentric view of the universe, and Galileo, whose experiments laid the groundwork for modern science. Alberto explains how the Renaissance emphasis on observation and reason paved the way for the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment brings Sophie to philosophers like René Descartes, who sought certainty through doubt, famously declaring, "I think, therefore I am." Descartes' dualism, which separates mind and body, fascinates Sophie, though she questions how the mind and body interact. Baruch Spinoza, another Enlightenment thinker, proposes a pantheistic view, suggesting that God and the universe are one. Sophie finds Spinoza's ideas both radical and compelling, as they challenge traditional religious distinctions. Immanuel Kant, a pivotal figure in modern philosophy, introduces the idea that human perception shapes reality. Kant argues that the mind imposes categories like space and time on sensory experience, meaning we can never know things in themselves. Sophie struggles with Kant's complex ideas but appreciates his attempt to bridge rationalism, knowledge through reason, and empiricism, knowledge through experience. Part 5. The 19th and 20th centuries. The 19th century introduces Sophie to Romanticism, a movement that celebrates emotion, imagination, and the individual. Philosophers like Georg Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel emphasize historical development, viewing history as a process of ideas unfolding through dialectics, thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Sophie finds Hegel's focus on change and progress intriguing, especially as it relates to her own evolving understanding of the world. Karl Marx, a student of Hegel, shifts the focus to material conditions, arguing that economic systems drive historical change. Sophie learns about Marx's critique of capitalism and his vision of a classless society. While sympathetic to Marx's concern for social justice, Sophie questions whether his ideas oversimplify human motivation. In the 20th century, Sophie encounters existentialism through Jean-Paul Sartre, who asserts that humans are condemned to be free, responsible for creating meaning in a world without inherent purpose. Sartre's ideas resonate with Sophie, who is grappling with her own sense of identity and purpose. Alberto also introduces Sigmund Freud's psychoanalysis, which explores the unconscious mind, and Simone de Beauvoir's feminist philosophy, which challenges traditional gender roles. Part 6. The Metanarrative and Philosophical Climax. As Sophie progresses through the history of philosophy, the Hilde mystery intensifies. She discovers that the postcards are written by Albert Nag, a UN officer stationed in Lebanon, to his daughter Hilde. The postcards suggest that Sophie's world is somehow connected to Hilde's, and Sophie begins to suspect that she is a character in a story written for Hilde. This realization is both unsettling and empowering, as Sophie grapples with questions of free will and reality. Alberto confirms Sophie's suspicions, revealing that they are characters in a book written by Albert Nag for Hilde's 15th birthday. This metanarrative twist transforms Sophie's world into a meditation on fiction, consciousness, and existence. Sophie and Alberto, aware of their fictional nature, devise a plan to assert their autonomy and escape the confines of their narrative. In the novel's philosophical climax, Sophie and Alberto explore the implications of their discovery. They discuss the ideas of George Berkeley, who argued that reality exists only in the mind, and draw parallels to their own situation. Sophie's journey becomes a quest for self-determination, as she seeks to transcend her role as a character and claim agency over her existence. Part 7. Themes and Reflections. Sophie's world is a rich tapestry of narrative and philosophy, blending a detective-like mystery with an intellectual odyssey. The novel's central themes include the pursuit of knowledge. Sophie's journey reflects the human desire to understand the world through reason, curiosity, and wonder. Each philosopher she studies offers a piece of the puzzle, yet no single perspective provides all the answers. Reality and perception. The metanarrative challenges readers to question the nature of reality. Sophie's discovery that she is a fictional character mirrors philosophical debates about whether our world is real or a construct of consciousness. Free will and identity. Sophie's struggle to assert her autonomy raises questions about whether humans can shape their destinies or are bound by external forces, whether divine, social, or narrative. The role of philosophy. Gaarder presents philosophy as a living discipline, relevant to everyday life. Through Sophie, readers see how philosophical questions, who am I? Why am I here? Are universal and timeless. The novel's structure, which embeds a philosophy textbook within a fictional narrative, makes complex ideas accessible to a wide audience. Sophie's youthful perspective grounds the abstract concepts, while her interactions with Alberto provide a Socratic dialogue that encourages critical thinking. Conclusion. Sophie's world is a celebration of curiosity and the enduring quest for understanding. Through Sophie Amundsen's journey, Jostein Gaarder invites readers to explore the history of Western philosophy while pondering life's deepest questions. The novel's blend of storytelling and intellectual exploration creates a unique reading experience that is both educational and profoundly moving. Sophie's transformation from a curious teenager to a self-aware philosopher reflects the power of ideas to shape our lives. Her story reminds us that philosophy is not an abstract academic pursuit but a way of engaging with the world, questioning assumptions, and seeking meaning. By weaving together a compelling narrative, a mystery, and a comprehensive overview of philosophical thought, Sophie's world remains a timeless introduction to the art of thinking. This summary captures the essence of the novel without revealing the full resolution of Sophie and Alberto's plan, preserving the intrigue for new readers. It highlights the key philosophers, plot points, and themes, offering a thorough yet concise overview of a book that continues to inspire wonder and reflection.